Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Carla. I'm a 21-year-old student from Brighton and I created this channel to help me get through my ever-growing TBR and make some wonderful bookish friends. If you haven't already watched my first video, I have 118 books on my physical TBR. This number was from January, so obviously I've read some since then, but I started off this year with 118 physical unread books, which is quite a lot. Yeah, so I created this channel to help motivate me to try and get through them, hopefully talk to people about the books I've read, and yeah, to see how many I'm able to read this year. If you can't already see, I'm in my comfortable Snoopy pyjamas. I'm taking a mental health day off uni. I just want to be kind and look after myself, and I thought what a better way to spend that than to talk about books. So yeah, be cozy, be kind. I've got my jelly cat with me here as well. Sometimes you've got to look after your inner child, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Today I'm going to be talking about my January reading wrap up. As well, I'm going to be going through a book haul. So let's get on to the video. Firstly, I'm going to talk about my January reading wrap up. So I use the story graph to track my reading, and they create these wonderful little graphs to look at your reading statistics. So I thought that I would go through some of them before I show you the books. So in total, I read 9 books, which I'm really happy with. 7 of them were in the romance genre. 5 of them were contemporary, 2 of them were manga, and 1 of them was literary, and 1 of them was in the fantasy genre. So I had a nice little mix. Romance and fantasy, quite a common genre for me, but it was actually really nice to see a little bit of literary fiction in there this month, because as I've said before, I'm not really a lit fic girly, so it was nice to see a bit of a change there. 5 of my books were from BIPOC authors. 3 of the books I read were 2023 buys. 3 of the books that I read were 2024 buys. 1 of the books was a 2021 buy. 3 of the books I read were translated into English. 1 of the books was second-hand, and 6 of the books were a new copy. I read 7 books that were physical and 2 that were digital. So looking at my story graph, that meant I read 78% of my books were physical and 22 were digital. My first read of January was Spy X Family Volume 1 by Tetsuya Endo. So I actually started watching that anime first with a friend, and then I bought myself the mangas, and I am so surprised at like how similar they are. Usually a book adaptation into a TV show or a movie, they always miss something or it isn't quite there. But I'm guessing because this is like animation, I would say it was like 99.9% like the same. I thought I thought the TV show was so close to the book, and I think it made me enjoy reading the book even more because they were so similar. Yeah, it's got wonderful art in. This is like the first manga that I've read by myself, and I think it was a really good place to start. It is quite a popular manga, and I thought because it was so well loved, it would be a like great place to start. I really liked it. It's a lot of fun. If you don't know much about Spy X Family, so this is the father, and then we have a mother and a daughter. But they are not biologically related. The dad is a spy, Agent Twilight. The mother is an assassin and the daughter is an empath. The father doesn't know the daughter's an empath or his wife's an assassin. The wife doesn't know the daughter's an empath or the husband's a spy, but the daughter knows that the dad is a spy and the mum is an assassin. So what basically happens is Agent Twilight is given a mission to infiltrate a school to find this powerful figure that could potentially start a war. So his job is to get a fake family, a fake daughter and a fake wife, to enroll the kid in to the school to get information. But he needs to have a wife as well, because this is a very elite private school, so they need to have like a typical nuclear family, act very posh, have new names, all this kind of stuff. I won't get any more into it because I don't want to spoil it, but this is really fun. It's really cute. The art is lovely. I also love the anime a lot. So yeah, that was my first read of January. My second read of January was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is a pretty popular romance book at the moment. I've seen it all over Instagram. I've heard that it's quite big on like BookTok as well. This book is a mixture between Gossip Girl and Made in Chelsea. So it's about London socialites, and they're all rich and they're all spoiled, and they have the media following them everywhere. So it's a lot of drama in this book. There's a lot of toxicity in the romance. It's supposed to be that way, but it is like very toxic, so warning like going into it. But I was kind of obsessed with it anyway. Like, I'm not into like rich socialites people. I'm not really into like toxic romances, but it's kind of like reality TV. Like, you just get like hooked on it. This follows Magnolia Parks and BJ Ballantyne, and they're an ex-couple, and the series basically follows them trying to find their way back to each other. There's a lot of hurdles, there's a lot of miscommunication. So if you hate the miscommunication trope, this book is not going to be for you. I don't usually really like the miscommunication trope. It did annoy me a bit a few times because it's so heavy, but this book was like quite addictive. So yeah, book 2 was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Thirdly, we have Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. This is a Taming of the Shrew retelling, and it follows Karina and what's his name, and Prem. So basically what happens is they get into an argument on his TV show. It's not, the TV show is not being filmed, but her sister's there and accidentally live streams the whole argument. And this results in the funding that he's gathered to create a health centre is dropped. So obviously that was terrible for him. For her, the argument doesn't really have much consequences, but she's got her own problems. So her mother died a few years ago, and her dad has decided to sell the childhood home. She's distraught about it. She wants to buy it, but she doesn't have the money. So her dad says, if you get engaged in a certain amount of time, I'll give you the house for like a good price, or I'll give it for free. Don't really remember. So these two decide to go into a fake dating relationship. He decides to go into it because he wants to show that the argument was a one-off, it wasn't actually who he was, and if he gets with her, it will give him like good face. She obviously wants to get engaged to him so that she can get the house. So it's a fake dating, enemies to lover romance. I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4.5, which is like good rating from me. I think the ending fell through a little bit for me. Like, the book was like strong pretty much all the way through. The ending I thought was just okay, but I really liked this book. I do really recommend it. It's quite a popular read as well, and I'd say like it's a popular read for a good reason. Next up, we have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This book I have seen everywhere at the moment. It's in the kind of fantasy, cozy fantasy genre, so it's become quite big. I had really high expectations going into this. I thought it was going to be a 5 stars. I thought I was going to love it, but it didn't hit for me, and I was really disappointed. I ended up giving it a 3.75. which is not like a bad rating for me. Anything under 3 stars is a bad rating for me. But I think maybe I rated it a bit lower because I thought I was going to love it that much, and I didn't. Like, I liked it well enough. I can understand why people rate it 5 stars. There's found family, there's kind of enemies to lovers. There's loads of really beautiful themes in this book, but I thought I was going to adore it and I didn't. So that was a bit of a letdown for me. I just didn't really connect with the romance or the characters very much. Which was really disappointed because I thought I was going to adore this book. But it happens, and as I said, like, I understand why people love it. It's got great themes, there's comedy in it, it's funny, but it's emotional. Like, don't let my view of this book stop you from reading, because you might absolutely adore it. So even though it wasn't for me, like, I would still recommend this book. Fourth on the list we have King Jung by Chu Nam Ju, which was translated from Korean. This is the literary fiction book that I read this month, which, as I said in the intro, completely surprised me. I'm not a lit-fic girly, but I decided to pick this up. This book was in my Read or Unhaul challenge for 2024. Which basically means I've given myself a list of books. If I don't read them by the end of 2024, I need to unhaul them. And for some reason, I just decided to pick it up. I'm never in the mood for literary fictions, but maybe this was a one-off, who knows. So yeah, it's based in South Korea, and it goes through the journey of this woman's life and what she has to face because she's a woman. Like, here it's literally described as a groundbreaking work of feminist fiction. And I also read as well that it was quite like groundbreaking in South Korea. I rated this a 4.25, which is like amazing for a literary fiction. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Yeah, it was nice and short. Maybe that's what helped. It was real. There was actually like quotes in the book that I took photos of because they really like stood with me. So I'll read you a little bit of the blurb. So there's loads of tiny little paragraphs. So it is: Kim Jung is born to a mother whose in-laws wanted a boy. Kim Jung is a sister made to share a room while her brother gets one of his own. Kim Jung is a daughter whose father blames her when she is harassed late at night. Kim Jung is a model employee who gets overlooked for a promotion. Kim Jung is her own woman. Kim Jung is every woman. So yeah, I would recommend this book, especially for those who are like me, who aren't really a literary fiction person. It's quite small and it's quite easy to understand, to read. So yeah, 4.25 from me. Book number 6, we have Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings, which is book 2 in the Magnolia Park series. So book 2 follows Daisy and Christian, who is another character who was introduced in Magnolia Parks. Once again, full of drama, full of toxicity, still really engaging. And what I liked about this book is there was extra added drama because Daisy's brother is the head of a gang and Christian comes from a gang family. So there was the added element of like guns and fights and drama. And yeah, as I said with Magnolia Parks, it's kind of addictive. I couldn't put it down. Yeah, and I rated this 4 stars. I don't know if I said I also rated Magnolia Parks 4 stars. The next book I read was in ebook form, and that was Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, which is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Park series. So this follows Magnolia and BJ again, follows them through their miscommunication and their drama and their love and their sadness. Rated it 4 stars again. Still really engaging, really fun. The weird thing about this book is that I understand why people love it and I understand why people hate it. It's one of those books that I just like, I understand both sides of the story. So yeah, another 4 stars. At number 8 we have Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, which is the 4th book in the Magnolia Park series. So this follows Daisy and Christian again, and what I forgot to say is that it also, the first Daisy Hates book and the second Daisy Hates book also follows Julian, Daisy's older brother, who is one of my favourite characters. He does one thing that is like really despicable that I like can't forgive him for, so I try to forget like something that he did and try and pretend he didn't do that, but he's actually a really funny character. Obviously he's a gang lord, so he's not a great person, but it's fiction. It's fiction, it's not real, it's fine. But yeah, this is the last book in Magnolia Park series currently. There's another one coming out next week, I believe. So yeah, this follows Daisy and Christian and their life. There's like something happened at the end of book 1, so it's like I think it's about a year later from book 1. So you find out how they're doing, their lives, what's going on. It's one of those ones that like I can't go into, otherwise I'll spoil the other books. But like the rest of the series, this was a 4 stars. And finally, the last book I read in January was Perfect World by Ayaruga. So this is a romance manga which follows the relationship between an able-bodied person and someone who has a disability. Now this is, this manga is a whole series, so this manga kind of follows them before they actually get into the relationship. And it's basically, it kind of follows her realizing that she has a lot of ableist ideas, and she even says in one book like she couldn't, in one part, that she couldn't imagine dating him because he has a disability, which is shocking, horrible, and most people wouldn't say that, but most people do have like some form of like ableist internalized inside them, right? So it's her kind of journey of kind of realizing that she's wrong and that she is like in love with this guy. He's really sweet. This book doesn't sugarcoat like the hardships. Like you even see like him with a bed sore and like in hospital. Like it's hard, and he's a really like hard work in his job. He's an architect, and they meet again because they knew each other in high school, and they meet again years later at the firm he works for. She's some kind of designer, I don't really remember. So yeah, this is like the really beginning of their story. I want to pick up the rest of their mangas. I'd be really interested to hear what people with disabilities think, especially those in a wheelchair. I'd want to know, like, do you feel like the representation was like appropriate? Because from what I can tell, the author wasn't in a wheelchair. I could be completely wrong, so I'd be really interested to hear from what people thought, and whether they thought it was like romanticized or not. So yeah, I did enjoy this. I didn't think it was romanticized, but I could be completely wrong, so that's why I'd really like to know what people's thoughts are. Yeah, so I rated it a 4.25. So these were the 9 books that I read in January. I was really pleased with my reading month. I'm slowly getting into reading physical books again, because for a long time I just read ebooks, but I would buy loads of physical books and then I'd have loads and I wouldn't read them. So my like goal this year is to try and get back into reading physical books. So I read 7 physical books this month, which I think was very successful for me. Some months might be less, some months might be more, but yeah, I was really happy with that. Now I'm going to go through my book haul. Yesterday I took myself out to town and I visited the library as I needed to pick up a few books, and then I also visited a couple of bookshops. So now I'm going to go through them. The first book in my haul is Pulse by Retina Satis. This is a LGBTQ+ romance which follows these 2 characters. I'm going to read the blurb because I don't actually remember 100% what it's about. So yeah, so a cardiologist with no heart, and the woman who needs one. Mel, a renowned heart surgeon, is well known for being a stoic loner. She views her erotic flings with other women as a tool for pleasure rather than a show of affection. Then she meets Lynn, a beautiful, spirited cardiac patient who needs a new heart but refuses a transplant. The two women meet with minimal expectations but soon become enthralled in a relationship that changes everything for both of them. So yeah, this looks really cute, and it says this girl's love comic and first place winner of the second lesson. So it looks like it's yeah, won some awards. I'm really excited to read this one. My next book in this haul was one of my books from the library, and this is 13 Months of Sunrise by Rana Mamoun. So the author is Sudanese, so I believe it's yeah, translated from Sudanese. This book is a collection of short stories, and it's really tiny in itself. I think it's only 80-something pages, and it's a literary fiction. The reason I decided to pick it up is because I'm taking part in Jessie on YouTube's Blackathon. So there's a number of prompts and you need to try and read as many as you can, really. And one of the prompts was to read a book by a Sudanese author. So this was the book I chose for it. It's nice and short, so I'm really hoping that I get into it. I'm going to read you the blurb. So, a young woman sits by her father's deathbed, lamenting her failure to keep a promise to him. A struggling writer walks every inch of the city in search for inspiration, only to find it's much closer than she imagined. A girl collapses from hunger at the side of the road and is rescued by the most unlikely of saviours. In this powerful debut collection, Rania Mano expertly blends the real and imagined to create a rich, complex and moving portrait of contemporary Sudan. From painful encounters with loved ones to unexpected new friendships, Mamoun, I think that's how you pronounce it, illuminates the breadth of human experience and explores with humour and compassion the alienation, isolation and estrangement that is urban life. So this looks like it's going to be really interesting. As I said, literary fiction isn't usually my thing, but I'm trying to push myself this year, and it's quite nice and short again, so I'm looking forward to getting to this. Next up we have a graphic novel which is called The Sprite and the Gardener by Ree Aberdegal and Joe Witt. This looks like the cutest book ever. I think I'd seen it mentioned on Alison Page's Patreon, like Discord group, and I saw it at a independent comic shop in Brighton. It's called Dave's Comics, so if you're ever in Brighton, check that out. They've got great graphic novels and comics. But yeah, I saw this and it looked so cute. The Sprite and the Gardener, like, what a cute name. And I'll flick through it because I don't want to look too carefully, but the colour palette just looks beautiful. So this book is about, let's see, follow Wisteria, an ambitious, kind-hearted sprite, as she unearths a long-forgotten magical talent to help a young human grow her garden. Bursting with whimsical art and vibrant characters, The Sprite and the Gardener is a beautiful, gentle fantasy about blossoming gardens and budding friendships. This sounds beautiful. This sounds like a great book to read when having like a bad mental health day or a time when you need to be kind to yourself. This, yeah, seems like a really gentle read, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this. Book number 3 in my haul is The Moon on a Rainy Night, which is presented by Kazushiro. This is another lesbian romance manga. Hearing with the Heart. One rainy night, Saki is rushing to a piano lesson when she crashes into a beautiful long-haired girl, dropping her sheet music in the process. Saki stutters an apology, but the girl simply hands back her sheet music and leaves without a word. Saki begins her first day of high school the following morning, only to find the stranger from the night before sitting at the desk next to hers. She learns that the girl's name is Canon and that she is not quite completely deaf, but very hard of hearing. Though Canon needs to be close to people to read their lips, she tends to push people away with her icy demeanour. Through one kind gesture, Saki slowly begins breaking down the walls around Canon, even as she feels something new blossoming within her. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. I think, as I said in a previous video, I'm studying British Sign Language, so I'm always really excited to see books with deaf or hard of hearing representation. This book also says that it neither fetishizes or romanticizes deafness. So that also makes me really, really excited. Here's a little flick of some of the art. This is another book that I'm super excited about. Book number 4 is Bingo Love, the Jackpot edition. So this is by multiple authors. I think there's a main author, T. Franklin, but then there's also a lot of other artists and authors who are involved in this work. This is the Jackpot edition, so it has the main story of Bingo Love, and then they have some added stories after, which is where the other authors and illustrators are involved. This is another book that I'm planning to read for the Blackathon challenge. This was for the prompt that said to read a graphic novel or a comic. It was actually recommended by Jessie themselves. I mean, look at that cover. Like, that is absolutely beautiful. I've already started reading this and I cried. If you've read this, you'll know the bit I cried at, but it's really beautiful. Once again, artwork is stunning. Yeah, I got this from the library. I picked it up yesterday and I'm already nearly finished. Yeah, I can already say that I really recommend this book. Next up, we have Orange by Ichigo Takano. This is quite a hefty manga. I believe, it says here that this is the complete collection #1. This is I believe it's like a sci-fi manga. So what it says, a plea from the future. On the day that Naho begins 11th grade, she receives a letter from herself 10 years in the future. At first, she writes it off as a prank, but as the letter's prediction come true one by one, Nazo realises that the letter might be the real deal. Her future self tells Naho that a new transfer student, a boy named Kakeru, will soon join her class. The letter begs Naho to watch over him, saying that only Naho can save Kakeru from a terrible future. Who is the mystery boy, and can Naho save him from his destiny? The heart-wrenching sci-fi romance that has over 1 million copies in print in Japan. So I saw this and I thought it looked really fun. I've only read a few mangas, but the ones I've read so far tend to be romance. And even though this is kind of a romance as well, it's got quite a like sci-fi aspect to it. So I'm really looking forward to it. I saw the blurb and I was like, oh my god, this looks so good. So yeah, my next book was Orange. And lastly, we have How I Met My Soulmate by Anna Shin. This is another romance manga. I just thought, I mean, the title drew me straight away, and then I read the blurb and it like drew me in even more. So Yuki is a 20-year-old college sophomore who has wished for one thing since moving to Tokyo: to find her soulmate. Growing up a bit desperate after a long drought, she goes along with a friend to a club for the first time. Her friend thrives, but it's chaotic and loud, just not Yuki's scene. Then when Yuki begins to despair that she'll never find a real adult relationship, she meets Laurie, a man with bleached hair and a slightly scary demeanour. But first impressions don't always tell the whole story. Could destiny still have more cards to play? So yeah, as soon as I read this, I was like, oh my god, I want to read this. It looks really cool. It looks really romantic. Looks like it's going to be fun. I kind of related to the main character. I'm a single girly, so I thought I would really, really enjoy this book. So this was my book haul. I am really looking forward to getting into these books. Thank you so much for watching my video. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned today. I'm always really keen to chat with people about books, so just leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.